This is possibly the last show before I have a screaming newborn child in the house.
Oh man, are we already that close?
We're that close. We're counting down the weeks. We might get one more show in, but Yasmin is feeling that he's going to be coming early.
All right. I don't think that I know yet, or if you already told me, I've forgotten it. I'm sorry. Do you know if you're having a boy or a girl?
We're having a boy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, 2 little boys in the house. And we have a name as well. We're going to call him Paul, after my dad.
Awesome.
Yep. So, good times.
Man. Get to go back.
Get ready for some background audio noise.
I think everyone would understand that. You ready to go back to sleepless nights?
No. Not at all. Dreading it, actually.
Yeah. Man.
And what happens when you've got like a 2.5-year-old and then the 0-year-old wakes up and cries, and then does the 2.5-year-old wake up and then cry? And
I don't know, how far apart are you going to be keeping them? Are they going to be in the same room?
No, they won't be in the same room, but it's not a big enough house, so a cry at one end of the house would be heard at the other.
Mm. Well, hopefully, Johannes is a heavy sleeper.
I don't know. I don't think he is. But we'll see.
Man. Yeah, that's really exciting.
I got to the bottom of the iPad storage issue.
Okay.
As we were talking about last show. I already told you what the solution is, but for the audience as well. So the iPad was complaining it was at like 100% capacity, and yet the storage graphic showed it was only ever like 60, 70 gig of 256.
Mm-hmm.
And then suspecting it was iCloud Photos somehow, like not optimizing storage and not clearing out its own storage, I thought, why don't I just see if I can use the iPad without iCloud Photos for a while. Maybe I'll just move all my photo management to Lightroom.
Mm-hmm.
So I turned off iCloud Photos and then went in to check the storage space, and immediately the graph showed that the iPad was 100% full of photos.
Really?
So it actually updated and had an accurate representation of how many photos were on the device, and it was the entire capacity of the iPad. So something I'm doing, something in my workflow, is causing the iPad to fill up with photos and then be unable to flush its cache.
Do you have the iPad set to store full resolution, or is it set to optimize storage?
No, it has to be optimized because my photo library is maybe 300 or 400 gig, so there's no way it could store all the originals on the iPad.
Wow. That seems like a pretty big bug.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Did you
I'm
responsibly
thinking it's
report
something
it?
to do with... Yeah, right. No, I don't really report things to Apple. Do you?
No. I've only ever sent one report back to Apple. And it was... I don't remember which version of iOS it was. But it was the version of iOS that temporarily dropped Apple Pencil support for just navigating the UI. And I sent in a feedback, like, bring it back.
Bring it back. Was that feedback or a radar?
It was through the feedback app you get in beta operating systems.
Ah, yeah, okay. Yeah, I tell a lie then. I have used that feedback app on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
I also used to fill in just the feedback pages on the feedback website, though.
Oh, yeah?
That's not something I've done in a while.
Yeah, I feel like anything that I would notice is significant enough that there's probably tons of other people have already reported it, because I don't have any niche use cases. So,
yep. Well, even this fairly niche-ish sort of use case. Well, I don't know, but I mean there are threads online with thousands of people saying they have the same problem, and I think it's something to do with the camera connection kit. Well, not that it's called that, but rather just importing off a digital camera.
Oh, really?
I suspect it's got something to do with that. Otherwise, like, everyone would have this problem who had a bigger photo library than their internal storage.
Right.
I think it's something to do with importing raw files off a camera, or even just JPEGs off a camera. So my workaround for now is just to import everything using Lightroom, and then just export what I need to photos with Lightroom. And so far it worked really well, because I shot a wedding on the weekend, and then end of the night imported 60-odd gig of photos into Lightroom, edit them, sync them, export them, whatever. And then the good thing about Lightroom is it's got this little button that says clear cache. So once I was finished with the photos, I hit clear cache, and then Lightroom storage was 0 gigabytes.
Nice.
Happy days. Yeah.
Yeah, the kind of like nitty-gritty option that Apple would never expose to their users.
Right. I thought there was that option at one point. If you go into like settings, iPad storage, photos.
Huh.
Maybe I'm just imagining it. That there was like a clear cache. There's lots of apps have like an offload app button.
Right.
And then some have like a more fine-grained control of like, this is what's taking up the space and you can delete it from here. Like I think maybe apps that store videos, often like maybe Infuse or VLC or something.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually see what the app is storing and then just delete it straight from in there. But yeah, I'm probably imagining photos having something like that. But that would be a perfect option. Just like clear local cache. Give me back 256 gigabytes. That would be perfect.
So does that mean you're not looking for an iPad replacement anymore?
I'm still on the fence.
Okay.
Whenever I use the Mac, I'm like, oh, man, the iPad's just so nice compared to this.
Mm-hmm.
But also, the Mac has like a really nice keyboard in comparison. It's got an SD card reader built in, which we've talked about. Bigger screen. You can do more stuff.
Right.
But then my iPad's like heaps faster than the MacBook Air that I've got here. So to help me make the decision, I actually bought the keyboard folio yesterday.
Oh, how do you like it?
Because so far, so good. It's very similar to the one I had on the 9.7-inch iPad Pro back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly bigger, of course. Well, I think it is. I assume it's slightly bigger. It's not as good to type on as some certain YouTubers, reviewers made it out to be. They're saying it's like their favourite typing experience on any keyboard ever. Well, you have to be crazy to call it that.
Right.
But yeah, it's nice. Yeah, it's a bit annoying how it doesn't really, when it wraps around, the keyboard's on the back now. I don't remember the old case doing that.
Oh, right. It didn't. Yeah, this is a new design.
Yeah. It's maybe slightly easier to use, though, than the old one. There's less origami.
Right. I kind of miss having a stand option that doesn't have the keyboard out in the front, though.
Right, yeah. You could used to make the little triangle at the back, and then it would just be the stand without the keyboard.
Yeah. So
it does feel sturdier, though. It feels like it's more rigid than the old keyboards.
Yeah.
Which is nice. It makes it a bit more lap usable, or like on your knees.
Yeah, you could definitely get away with doing that.
But I'm less than 24 hours in, so we'll see if the honeymoon period lasts longer than a few days.
Does the keyboard feel cramped at all on the 11-inch?
Yeah, a little bit cramped.
Yeah.
It's nice. I would definitely want a more spacious keyboard if I had a choice for it. Well, I mean, I do, but yeah. It's not too bad, though. I can type just about as fast as on a regular size keyboard, I think, which is the main thing.
It's, slightly more inconvenient, and maybe even significantly more inconvenient. But what's to stop you from just like picking up a Magic Keyboard and pairing it with Bluetooth?
Yeah, that's an option, but there are a few things I don't like about that. Firstly is that you have to carry a few things around with you.
Right.
Like, it doesn't just pack up into this nice little package that you put in your bag.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. Number two is, I think I remember this from doing it once, is that like the Bluetooth will go to sleep and then the first key press isn't recognized.
Oh, really?
Maybe things have improved since then, but well, that's certainly the case with the Bluetooth Magic Mouse that I am using with the iPad at the moment.
Okay.
Is that you kind of have to wake it up and then it starts working. You can't just start moving the mouse and it's immediately active. So that would be my fear with the keyboard as well.
Yeah, that would get annoying quickly, especially depending on how fast it unpairs.
Right. But yeah, it's more just the convenience of having the case and the keyboard as one unit. That's
right.
Probably most of the time going to be attached to the iPad and ready to go.
I agree. That's worth the trade-off in my mind.
Yeah.
All right.
But I have a backup plan, as I also mentioned to you during the week.
Yeah, tell me more about this.
I created Frankenstein's laptop. It's a Lenovo ThinkPad X1, and it's now running macOS Catalina.
And how's that working?
Well, like a lot of projects, it took 10% of the time to get 90% of the work done, and then it's seemingly taken an infinite amount of time to get the last 10% done.
Okay.
So amazingly, from knowing like zero things about setting up a Hackintosh, like I could not have told you step one a week ago. It took me probably 90 minutes to go from that point to being at the desktop of Catalina on this ThinkPad. And
is that thanks to the specific hardware in that laptop, or do you think almost any PC configuration would have the same experience?
I don't know enough about it, really.
Okay.
To say. There was a guide that someone put together specifically for this laptop, which includes some specific config files for this laptop.
Oh, okay.
So I think that probably would have shaved off a bunch of time, but I can't say for sure.
So what is the setup process that you had to go through?
You create a Catalina USB install disk, obviously, as you do for setting up any computer, I guess. And then there's a utility called Clover, and there are a few different other options, like OpenCore, apparently, but the one I went with was Clover. It creates another partition, an EFI partition, on the boot disk, and then chucks in a bunch of config file, and also at this point you also get all the relevant kernel extensions for the hardware that you're using, and you dump them in this partition on the Catalina boot disk. And then you simply turn off basically all the boot security settings on the computer, your target computer, and then boot from the Catalina install disk, and it installs macOS.
Wow!
And then you're at the desktop half an hour later. It's quite incredible. But of course, I'm kind of underselling the next part, which is that you then have to get all the there's heaps of stuff, and I haven't even finished. I'm not sure if there's even going to be like a finish line for this, but like the audio at the moment isn't working because certain config isn't right. I have no idea if the webcam is working. All the ports seem to be working pretty well. My computer required the ThinkPad required the Wi-Fi card to be replaced with another Wi-Fi card, but thankfully I just had like a USB Wi-Fi card sitting around, which I found.
Right.
So that's what I've ended up using for now. Yeah, there's all sorts of things. There's no power management at the moment, so it doesn't go to sleep. Close the lid and it's still awake. Fan spin it. I don't know. Sounds like 50% all day long.
So you have to manually turn it off every time you close it or put it to sleep.
Right. Yep. So there's a long way to go, and I'm keeping it open as an option. But it's incredibly fast. It's way faster than the 2017 MacBook Pro that I had.
Really?
Last year, the year before. Yeah, it's much faster.
So what are the specs of this ThinkPad?
It's a 1.9 gigahertz i5, 16 gig of RAM, and 256 gigs of storage. 8th generation Intel i5, I'm pretty sure. Whatever that corresponds to.
And did you try
Isolate.
running any benchmarks and seeing kind of where you sit in the Mac lineup?
No, I haven't got that far yet. That's a good idea, actually. I should definitely try it.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what the...
And importantly, it also has a high DPI screen, so it's basically a Retina MacBook Pro.
Nice.
Yeah.
And significantly cheaper than one, I assume.
Yeah, well, actually it was free because this is my work laptop.
Really?
Yeah. Don't tell anyone at the office, but the only reason I have got it is because when Catalina came out, the VPN software for to get into work stopped working on Catalina.
Okay.
So I basically said, well, either I need an upgrade to the VPN hardware that you're running there, or you need to send me a laptop. So they sent me this laptop, but my VPN purposes are like an hour a month that I'd actually use it. So it was basically free hardware, just sitting there doing nothing.
That's awesome.
And now, ironically, it's running Catalina, and I haven't got Windows 10 backup and running on it.
You should put Windows on your MacBook Air.
The ultimate yin-yang computing experience.
Speaking of your work, I think I need some advice from you. In a couple months, the end of June, beginning of July, I'm moving back to my hometown, and I'm going to be going fully remote in my current position.
Fully remote? Wow.
And I'm a little anxious about it. I want to make sure... Like, I feel like I need like a separate space entirely that I can set up that's still like a home office. I have an office at home now, but my office is full of, it's got my sound booth and like my computers and all my hobbies and everything are in here, and they feel like distractions to me. I feel like I need a really like pure, clean place. It's just like when I sit here, I'm working and that's it. That's all this space is for. And then just like I'm worried about things like, man, I'm not gonna be getting out of the house very much. I need to like figure out how to plan out my life. So what's your advice for someone who's going into a fully remote position?
If you have the space, definitely have the work mode area so that when you walk through that door, it's work mode,
right?
Basically, that's pretty important. But also, I find if your shift or whatever's 8 hours long, don't just be in there for 8 hours because then you'll just end up going crazy. So. I try and pretty religiously listen to the stand-up alerts on my watch, and if I get a stand-up alert, then I'll just go out and, I don't know, make a coffee or say hello to whoever's home or, something like that. So, yeah, have a work area.
Okay.
But also don't isolate yourself in there for long periods of time because you'll end up going crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
And if you don't, well, you do. Yeah, if you didn't have a work area, I guess you could probably get away with just doing it, maybe like in a shared area, but just having like one dedicated computer or whatever to your work.
Right.
It's nice to be distracted every now and then, but yeah, you're right. You do have to have like a work mode in your head that you can switch to.
Right.
And in terms of getting out of the house. You will go crazy if you don't get out of the house. Yeah. For me, it's pretty easy because I only work part-time, so it's only 4 hours a day that I'm actually kind of stuck in one place.
Okay.
But you'll be working full-time from home, so it'll be like 8-9 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess you have to commit to your lunch break, that's for sure.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking I really need, like, especially those lunch breaks, like, get out and just go for a walk or something. Force myself to get out of the house during the day.
Yeah, if the weather's nice, like eat your lunch at the corner. I don't know what your suburb arrangement's like, but
right.
If there's like a coffee shop nearby, just walk down there. I mean, just saying hello to a barista's pretty, it's something nice that'll get you out of the house and get you some social interaction.
Right. Yeah, I love my kids, I love my family, but if they're the only people I see every day for a year, that's gonna. I like getting out and talking to other people, so I definitely want to maintain that.
Yeah, I've made the mistake before of not focusing on that when I work from home, going back many years now. And you get to the point where, like, the face-to-face with the person at the checkout when you're buying your loaf of bread is, like, the highlight of the day. And that's a sad place to be. That is no good.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, you need to, like, every evening, basically, you need to start organising social interactions with other people, if that's possible.
Okay. That should be a lot more possible, actually, moving back to my hometown. I'll have a lot of, like, old friends from school and stuff around that I can meet up with for dinner or something.
Yep.
So, yeah. Overall excited, but a little bit nervous about transitioning. I've never done a fully remote position before, so.
And the other aspect of it is just socializing with your colleagues still. Like, since you're not kind of in their face every day, you have to be twice as communicative, I guess, via Teams or email or Slack, whatever you use. I don't know, just to keep in touch with them, because it's harder.
Yeah,
it's easier to drift out of the workplace consciousness, I guess.
Yeah, my boss forgets I exist and I get passed up for promotions or something.
Yep.
So,
on the plus side, you could start outsourcing all your job to India and then just spend the day playing whatever you want to play.
Take half a salary basically to do nothing and spend half of it on paying. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would go great until I get caught sharing private IP with other people.
Well, you could make the worker sign an NDA on your behalf. And you could also work another job, so you could potentially get 1.5 times salary through this method.
That's valid, especially if it was another software job that I could still be at a computer, because I still got to sit in a lot of meetings and stuff, and so as long as I'm not like...
And then outsource that job.
Okay, so now I'm basically like a contracting firm that's cooking developers up with companies.
Yeah. Also skimming 50% of all salaries.
It's not a bad business model.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the long-term sustainability, but I don't know. Worth a shot.
All right. I'll give it a shot. If it doesn't work out, I'm going to come live with you.
Okay.
Because I'll have no money and it was your fault.
Are you bringing all 5 kids as well?
Uh-huh. Yeah, you got the room for that, right?
Yeah, sure. If they like sleeping outside. Weather's good most of the year round for that.
I'll get eaten by a drop bear outside.
Yeah, no. The repellent for drop bears is, it's either Vegemite or peanut butter on your top lip.
All right, good.
Can't remember which.
Good to know.
Just
now I'll be
go
safe.
With both.
A little bit of Vegemite and peanut butter.
Yeah. Or is it behind the ears? I really messed up the whole mythology behind
just
drop
put it
bears.
all over your head.
Yeah, well, that's exciting, working from home. How were you able to wrangle that?
My company's pretty open to it. We have a lot of remote developers, and I've been meaning to get back to where I'm from, closer to family and friends, and just felt like the right time, and told my boss. He's like, yeah, okay, whatever. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's easy as that?
Yeah, I'd say about a third of our developers are already remote. So, yeah, it doesn't make much of a difference.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Pre-show is getting longer and longer.
It's half the show now.
Shows, Yeah. It just about is.
Yeah.
But there's actually Apple News to talk about as well.
Oh, is that what we do here?
To. Occasionally, we look at the Apple subreddit and read the news from it.
Okay, yeah, we can give that a shot.
Yeah?
I got a few minutes.
Something new. Well, this is a report from Bloomberg. Is that Apple is discussing allowing iPhone users to set third-party web browsers and email apps as defaults. So, it sounds like there are some pigs flying in the sky, and this is actually happening. I think I've always thought, ever since like iOS 3, that Apple would basically never do it if they hadn't at that point. But as in recent years, software seems to be addressing all the minor user complaints that are left because, like, there's no... all the other easy, low-hanging fruit has already been picked. So they're like, well, let's just troll r/Apple and see what people complain about. Let's do the volume heads-up display. Let's do dark mode. Now let's let people choose default apps.
Yeah, this is it's not really a complaint I've ever had, but I know it's been a common one for, over a decade at this point. So this is definitely going to make a lot of people happy. But as far as I'm concerned, I'll probably still stick to Safari and the Mail app.
Yeah, I'm really happy with... Well, I was really happy with Mail.
Yeah.
It's not that good in iOS 13. But I've tried various third-party mail apps in the past, and none of them are that compelling that I would drop Mail. Maybe as if I were a Gmail user, I would think differently. And actually, the same goes for the web browser. If I was a Chrome user, I'd definitely be annoyed with the current state of things. Like every link opening Safari, and then I don't know, what do people do? Is there like a shortcut to open it in Chrome, or just copy and paste the URL? That sounds annoying, whatever the case is.
Yeah, you could use like the opener extension or something to pick your app, but you kind of have to share the URL first, and then choose the opener app, and then choose Chrome, and it's a lot more steps than just tapping on it.
Yeah, it sounds annoying. But I guess a lot of people use Chrome, especially because it's on all platforms. So, like, if you're a Windows user at work, there's no Safari, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when there was? And those were funny days.
Yeah.
But, yeah. If you want all your stuff to sync between your phone and your computer's Windows, well, basically, Chrome is your choice. And there are other choices, but most people go with Chrome, seemingly, at this point.
I want to take a moment here, just based on that statement, to evangelize something I never thought I would.
Firefox?
No. I do like Firefox. Oh. That was my default browser for years on Windows until it was recently replaced with Edge.
No.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
The new Chromium-based Edge, which is basically just like a nice skin on top of Chrome.
And why you're evangelizing it?
I like it quite a bit. I have to work on... The only place I really use Windows is at the office or on my gaming computer. But both of those have been switched to the Edge browser, my work computer from Chrome. Basically because if you need web dev tools, Chrome is the only option. But Edge has the exact same dev tools because it's basically just Chrome, and I like how it looks a little bit better. It has a nicer dark mode than Chrome does.
So functionality, they're very similar, but Edge looks better.
Yeah, I would say that's fair because the new Edge is basically Chrome. There's a couple Microsoft touches in there. If you can tolerate Bing, they have some kind of credit service. I'm not familiar with how this works, but you get credits every time you do a search in Bing, and like you can use them as actual money on like the Microsoft Game Store and stuff like that.
I'm sorry, what? That comes out of left field. You get money for searching on Bing.
Right. I don't think it's a lot.
I guess they're trying to overthrow Google like some completely non-traditional way, pay people to not use Google.
I know this isn't a new thing. They've done it for at least a year. And my boss has been trying to be conscious of doing that and using Bing. And he's been able to pay for, like, not a lot, but like his yearly Microsoft Game Pass subscription with it. So that's at least $60 a year just for using Bing.
So how do the economics of that work? Where is Microsoft getting the money from?
Selling your data, I assume.
And here I was thinking that maybe it was some, like, we'll pay you and you get extra privacy or something like that.
Well, maybe I mean, they run ads in their search results just like all browsers do. Maybe you're getting a portion of the ad revenue.
Yeah, that would make sense.
There was I wish I remember what this was called. This was probably almost 10 years ago now. There was a company that was starting up that would run ads on websites. And if you watched the ads on any website, if you watched the ad, you would get credits, like actual money. And they would send you like a debit card in the mail, and you could create an account with them. And then anytime you saw an ad that was run by their player on any platform, you would get money added to your debit card.
Okay.
They even had like a mobile app where you, if you really wanted to, you could just sit and watch ads, and you'd get, a couple cents per ad or something. The problem was they never really got very many companies to partner with them, and then even fewer websites to put their ad player, on their pages. So they died out after a couple years. But I was very into it in high school.
What company would want to pay for their ads to be just put in front of someone who is just watching ads to watch ads? They're not watching ads and then thinking, I'm gonna go and buy that product or subscribe to that service.
The mobile app was kind of like the like proof of concept, like, look, you can watch ads and make money thing. But the actual goal of the company was that then their player would be embedded in a bunch of websites. And so it's basically just showing ads on major websites like normal. I don't know how that is better than using Google's ad service or whatever. But yeah, it was something I was interested in back in the day.
It sounds like one of those schemes that stay-at-home mums and dads do, which is like fill out surveys for pennies and then end up drawing some sort of low income just doing that.
I'm my own boss. I work from home.
Right.
Watching ads.
And on the side, I run a pyramid scheme. Well, I'm part of.
That's right.
An MLM scheme. Yeah. Enyo and online surveys.
So, anyway, back to the article. More interesting to me than being able to remap your default browser and mail app, it looks like it's also going to be applied to the HomePod with choosing some other music apps, which would be, again, not something that appeals to me, but something that would make the HomePod appeal to a lot more people.
Yeah, that's the big one, isn't it? So, at the moment you can say to your phone, blah, blah, play X on Spotify, right? I don't even know.
Right,
I think
you can.
You can, right. Just like we learned the other day, you can say navigate here with Google Maps.
Right.
But you can't do that on the HomePod at the moment. It's only Apple Music.
Right.
So fairly limited. So it's like a next level integration, basically. Because if you could just say play blah blah and it automatically chooses Spotify, do you think it would come to the phone as well, to iOS as well as the HomePod if they were to do that? Or is it this going to be like a HomePod exclusive?
This article alludes to that's a possibility. It does stress at the end that no final decisions have been made whether or not these efforts will be implemented in the next version of iOS, though. So all of this could be taken with a huge grain of salt.
I guess the question is, what's the HomePod there to do? Is the HomePod there to sell units, or is the HomePod there to get people to subscribe to Apple Music? Or a bit of column A, bit of column B? Because if it's there just to sell units, then it makes sense just to let people use it however they want to use it.
I think it's more that than pushing Apple Music subscriptions. If the HomePod was just supposed to be a vehicle to sell Apple Music, then they should be selling it like at cost, right, and not with a huge markup on it. But it does seem to be, pretty highly priced compared to some other stuff on the market. So I don't think that just a way to get people into Apple Music is necessarily what this is.
So maybe WWDC will see some native Spotify and Amazon Music and a HomePod Mini or something like that.
Yeah, that would go hand in hand. What if they opened up a HomePod app store and it had, Spotify and Amazon Music, but like developers could also make their own like audio only apps? That fits in with their strategy of just adding an app store to everything and then having it not take off. Watch App Store, iMessage App Store, Apple TV App Store. Amazon's done something similar. They've got the skills you can download to the Alexa that you can download like the Pizza Hut one. You can order from Pizza Hut right from your Alexa. So it's proven that companies will at least develop for the platform. I don't know how popular it is. But it could be an option.
I think I'd be surprised. And with Google, you can also integrate with services as well. But there's nothing there that's really compelling.
Right.
That makes it worth doing.
Well, maybe Apple will be the one to do it right. Or
maybe.
Or not.
Unannounced AirPods X generation, or is it 10 generation, reportedly appear in Target inventory system for $399. That's quite a lot of money for some AirPods.
Yeah.
So are we thinking they're going to be the over-ear headphones?
I feel like it has to be. I can't... What else would it be that's priced higher than the AirPods Pro by, a time and a half?
Yeah, and what other feature is there that you could add to in-ear headphones that the AirPods and AirPods Pro don't cover already that would be worth more money?
Right.
Like, there's nothing.
So
I think the in-the-ear, the bud part of the market has been covered now.
Right.
So if there is going to be something else, it's got to be over the ear.
I'm not familiar with how common this is, but I would be surprised to hear that Apple, leaks information to Target for them to have inventory placeholders.
Right.
So I feel like this might just be speculation on Target's part, unless them having some kind of inside knowledge, because I don't think that's the case at all.
As Andrew Schiamone comments, AirPower is still there as an active listing. So I think it's just that Target's either guessing or doesn't maintain their inventory system at all.
Right.
They've got no inside information from Apple. You'd have to say that.
Right. Yeah. Target doesn't have some kind of special relationship with Apple, I'm sure. I'm not really familiar. I used to be management at Walmart. I should have an answer to this, but I don't know why inventory systems are so important to the point where, because it seems like every year we're getting leaks about placeholders in inventory. Why do companies need to put placeholders in there at all? Why can't you just add the item when it exists? I don't know if there's a significant reason they need to reserve like I don't know, some kind of inventory
specific
number.
SKU.
Yeah,
just for it.
So, I mean, to say there's going to be new AirPods, that's a safe bet, and you could probably put a placeholder in there if you had to, and you're not going to be wrong. And new iPod, new Apple TV, and new Apple Watch bands. They've had references for all of those show up.
Yeah, but I take your point. Like, why does it have to be in there in advance?
Right.
Like, it's not like they've got some existing stock that they need to track, because there's no way they're getting it before Apple has it.
Right, yeah, and months before it's announced. That doesn't make sense at all. And if that was the case, that Apple is like seeding out inventory to big box retailers already, they'd already be leaked. You know, I don't trust a Target employee not to open a box and say, "Look what I found."
Yeah, no way in hell.
So, yeah, the whole thing just doesn't make sense to me, and I really doubt it's based off of any, legitimate knowledge that Target has.
It's just one overzealous employee in the inventory part of Target who is a huge fan of Apple and just basically adds every rumor that they can that they read on to the inventory system. I
wonder how many placeholder products there are. Like, I'm sure that there's other categories of products, and we only hear about the Apple ones. There's probably like placeholder like toilet paper rolls and placeholder cereal boxes and everything else in their inventory. It's just none of those mean anything to anyone. But as soon as they put AirPods on it, everyone freaks out.
Yep, could be. Maybe like 50% of the inventory system is just goods that they wish existed but don't.
It's just one guy, like one data entry guy, who is desperately trying to justify why his job should exist, and to stay busy, he's just putting like unannounced products into the system.
Actually, he's outsourced his job to India, and the guy in India doesn't quite grasp what the inventory system is for, so he's just just filling it up with products that he reads about online. Sorry to pick on India if you are from India, but it's just the classic choice.
Right.
For outsourcing.
Or how about this? Someone has made a crappy automation to do the inventory system, and it's like pulling from unreliable sources.
It's like AI?
I mean, AI is probably a stretch. It's just like scraping data from somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Make a whole like neural network machine learning inventory management system and see how that goes.
Terribly, I can tell you now. Let's pretend that it is a real thing, though.
Right.
Over-the-ear headphones. I don't know if it would be like a mass market enough product for Apple to make. Well, I did just say pretend they did exist, though. So,
well, I mean, Beats are fine. They're still popular.
Yeah. Yep. Doing well.
But
Apple has Beats already,
right? That's
on the other hand.
That's my question: is where do these fall in terms of like, why have an Apple branded one when they already make all these Beats headphones? The Beats headphones already have I don't know if they have the H1, but they have the W1 chip in them, and they've got lightning charging and everything else. So that, in my mind, that's already an Apple headphone, unless they're phasing out Beats and they're just rebranding them as AirPods.
Maybe, but Beats has pretty good brand recognition, and people like to be affiliated with Beats. So I'd be surprised if that were the case. Maybe it's an option for people who don't want the Beats branding. It's just a rebranded Beats headphone.
It's definitely like polarizing. You're right, because I see people wearing them all the time. They're definitely like a style, like a statement to be wearing Beats. But the only time I ever hear Beats talked about is in a negative connotation about how they're so crappy and not as good as anything else in that price bracket. And
right.
So. Yeah, I mean, the over-the-ear AirPods Apple-branded headphones has been a rumor for years, so I'm sure they're being worked on, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see them anytime soon. But yeah, I'm not sure where they fall in the lineup.
I think the last point that counts against this whole article is that they're listed in 3 separate colours, and we have not seen 3 separate colours in any AirPod yet. They're all white.
We've seen separate colors in Beats. The new, the Power Beats? Or the Beats, the in-ear ones come in like, what is it? Like a green color and a black and white?
Maybe that's what this is.
Yeah.
It's actually just a Beats headphone.
Maybe. I'm more excited about the new Apple TV in this inventory system.
Apple TV 8K? I doubt it.
I wish they could stick with 4K, but just put a nicer processor in there to run these new Apple Arcade games and call it a day.
Oh, does the current one struggle with Apple Arcade games?
I wouldn't say it struggles. I don't know for sure. I'm not one that plays games on my Apple TV much, but you're certainly going to unlock a lot more possibility. Because the 4K has, the A8 chip in it still?
Does it really? Wow, that's getting long in the tooth. I imagine them updating it just to put a new chip in there.
Yeah. I might be a year off. Let me take a look.
I thought it had the A10.
It might have the A10. Maybe the Apple TV HD had the A8?
Yeah, the Apple TV 4K has A10X Fusion.
Okay. Yeah. So that's not too old, but Apple has made some big leaps in the last few years. So an A14 or even A13 or the chip in the iPad Pro would last forever in an Apple TV.
Yeah, it probably would. And maybe a redesigned remote.
Wouldn't mind that at all.
No? Okay.
Maybe even push a little bit of an effort to rebrand the Apple TV as maybe a little bit more of a gaming console now that they've got Apple Arcade on there, and make maybe they shouldn't make an Apple branded game controller. It already works with the Xbox and PlayStation controllers, and I'm sure they can't top those.
No, they wouldn't be able to top it. But what if they shipped it with a game controller as the remote control? That'd be crazy.
See, if they're going to do that, though, I feel like they would have to make their own. I can't see them shipping an Xbox controller with an Apple TV.
Oh, no. Imagine that. Pigs would really be flying if that happened.
Uh-huh. So, yeah. But the Apple TV is a lot of potential.
No, I don't know of any other TV technologies that the Apple TV is like crying out for.
No, I think it has. 4K is still, good enough in my mind. There's not really much above that in the consumer price range, and it's got HDR. There might be like one version of HDR that it doesn't support or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's got Dolby Atmos. So
it's got Wi-Fi 6 or AC.
It's got Wi-Fi 6?
Or AC, whatever that is.
That's 5.
Is that 6?
6,
oh, 5.
6 is
Sorry.
AX. But they're being rebranded as Wi-Fi 6.
See, they rebranded it to clear up confusion, but now things are...
The transition is
going
to be confusing.
2 names to remember. Yeah, okay.
I can see where numbers are going to be a lot easier for the general consumer than, B in AC G. So, I think in the long run.
Well, I remember them all, and I'm just a typical consumer. They only confuse me with these new names.
Yeah. So, anyway. I'll be anxious to see the new iPod Touches as well, assuming all these are true. iPod Touch, I'd love to see them redesign the iPod Touch to look more like a modern iPhone and not just keep putting new processors in the old design.
So, Face ID, screen to the edge.
Yeah, something like that would be really, really cool. Probably would make the iPod too expensive, though.
Quite possibly.
So, and the iPod's already so thin. It'd be really hard to redesign it. Because how do you redesign a piece of paper? You know, there's not much you can do. Not much you can do with something so thin.
And thus the show title was born. How do I shorten that into a few words? Kind of a bit long for the show title, isn't it?
We've had wordy show titles before.
Alright, I'm just going to make it redesign a piece of paper.
Okay. Taking notes.
Yeah, literally. Just type that out.
All right.
But moving on. Our favourite topic, I think, potentially, is that Apple, besides AirPower, Apple's to release the first ARM Mac without Intel processor in next 18 months, predicts our favourite analyst, Ming-Chi Kuo. Within the next 18 months, that is not a long way away.
No.
So if they were to do that, if they're actually to release this computer within 18 months, it means developers need to start working pretty soon. So it would mean we'd hear about it at this year's WWDC. Some sort of transitioning SDK or whatever.
Yeah, they'd have to announce it at this WWDC if they want any kind of app support. Unless they have some kind
unless they didn't need it. Yeah.
Yeah, unless they have some kind of like really good emulation layer they're just going to use and drop it on everyone at the same time. But
Windows is doing that, aren't they? They've got x86 emulation on
they do.
ARM Windows.
Yeah, the new Surface X is ARM based, but runs yeah. Not very well, but it does run x86 apps. I don't know. I could see it going both ways. If we go off of like historical precedents, they announced the switch to Intel. I don't know, months and months before, like probably at least 6 months before they switched to Intel. So hopefully they do that again. But in the spirit of secrecy, I could also see them putting an emulation layer on there and calling that good enough, and people can convert their apps after it's announced.
Ooh, imagine the anger from all the developers if they did that.
Right. Yeah, suddenly all of their programs are running worse on the new laptops.
Right. No, there's no way they can do that. No way.
Well, that'll make this WWDC very exciting.
It sure would. I mean, the last few have just been crazy.
Yeah.
Especially the last one. Imagine if they announced this to everyone.
There's a comment in this article. Let me see if I can find it. This article references a lot of tweets from... I never can pronounce his name. In my head, it's Steve Troughton Smith. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Okay. I follow him on Twitter, and he's got a lot of great insight on Apple products. But specifically, one of his tweets in this article mentions Apple potentially allowing developers to run the ARM-based version of macOS on like iPad Pros for testing their apps between now and the launch of the Macs.
Imagine that.
That would be incredible.
That'd be insane.
I don't know how likely it is, but that tied in with... I don't think we're talking about it on this show, but some of the rumors around this March keynote that's supposedly coming up, unveiling a new iPad Pro with like a brand new, really nice keyboard, could go hand in hand with running macOS on it in the coming months.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And if that's the case,
I would
do that.
I've already got an ARM Mac, actually.
Oh yeah,
because I've got a keyboard and a mouse attached to my iPad,
mm-hmm.
and then I just VNC into my Hackintosh, and yeah, it's basically an ARM Mac, right? It's pretty close.
I think that's missing every benefit of an ARM Mac, but okay.
Oh, really?
You've got like an ARM-powered monitor.
An ARM-powered monitor. It's another candidate for show title. But see, this is what I should do to save me hunting through the audio for titles post-show. I should just write them down as you talk.
This is.
I have actually been doing that though. Seriously, I have been VNC into the Hackintosh and using a keyboard and mouse on the iPad, and it is. It's like it's a good workaround when there is stuff you just can't get done on the iPad OS. That's
right.
That's another topic.
Does your Hackintosh support Sidecar?
It does, according to the guide that this guy put together. I should probably name him since Tyler Guinan, Tyler Guyan, something like that. Didn't anticipate such a hard name to pronounce. But yes, according to his notes, it does work. Have I tried it yet? No, I haven't.
That could potentially, I mean, depending on how far you are away from your Hackintosh, eliminate your need to do VNC, and you could just sidecar all your stuff onto the iPad.
Yeah, could do. You do have to initiate sidecar from the computer, though, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. I kind of imagine having the computer like tucked away somewhere and never using it.
Right.
I mean, never having it like accessible.
I see.
So that's where VNC comes in handy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think this rumor holds a lot of water. Quo's been predicting an ARM-based Mac around this time for a couple years now. So the fact that we're getting closer to the arrival date and he still feels like it's going to happen, I think that lends some credibility. There you go. Yeah, so I'm excited. I've been waiting for this for a long time. I'm ready to see how Apple's going to pull this off.
Imagine a MacBook in the same style of the current iPad Pros with 24-hour battery life, tons of USB-C ports. I don't know what other specs. What else do we get out of ARM? We'll probably get crazy battery life and excellent performance.
Right. Yeah, those are the two big things right there. So yeah, the performance.
Probably maybe no spinning fans. Although if they, you might be able to get like crazy performance. I don't know, out of ARM if you actually had some like active cooling instead of completely passive like in current devices.
Right. It'd be more like Apple to not put the fan in though.
It would be, wouldn't it?
They should really just bring back the MacBook, put the newer keyboard in it, and put an ARM processor in there, and that would be awesome.
Yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire. It makes sense to do it. There's rumors it's happening. It's got to be happening.
Yeah. Yeah. The performance per watt is undeniable, and I know Apple has to be completely exhausted of being a slave to Intel's ever-slipping release dates for their processors. So,
and they love doing everything themselves when they can.
Right. So, yeah, this is inevitable.
Yeah, inevitable. It's just a transition that's going to be interesting, to say the least.
I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about it, and it's going to be miserable, and Apple's ruined everything, and people are going to swear off Macs. But I think for more of the average consumer, they're probably not even going to notice this is going to be the next computer they buy has an ARM processor. They're not even going to know. And life is going to continue on for them. But
that's if it goes well.
Right.
It could be the case that they get the Windows RT version of events where they just buy the computer unwittingly and then find out that nothing runs on it.
Yeah. Apple cannot go that route. They have to allow backwards compatibility. Even if it's going to be kind of crappy and slow through emulation, they can't lock it down to only ARM applications. And they've been slowly releasing tools to make it easier and easier to develop ARM apps for the Mac. So hopefully for those apps that do run crappy on x86 emulation, they could be quickly ported over.
I remember thinking back a long time, maybe somewhere around the PowerPC to Intel transition, that I used to run Photoshop, I think it was, via Rosetta. Is that it? I'm really stretching my memory now. It didn't even run that badly, though. You'd get like the old school icons and stuff when you started Photoshop, but it was totally usable. This is going back 15 years?
What? Yeah, 2005 is when they started switching to Intel.
Yeah, right. So times have changed since then, but the transition wasn't too jarring, even for software that didn't get updated for a long time.
Right.
It was still more than usable.
And this is Apple's third architecture migration. So they should really have it nailed down by now.
Just getting better and better.
That's right.
Well, I'm sure there'll be lots more to say on that when actual news comes out.
Yeah. Hopefully WWDC is going to be a big event this year.
It's going to be hard to top last year's.
I think ARM Max would do it, at least for me.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. So AirTags are said to be completely waterproof and use magnetic charging like the Apple Watch. So the fact that they're completely waterproof, I would assume that they were, because they have to be. But magnetic charging like the Apple Watch, I never thought about how you would charge these. I just assumed that you would use them until they ran out of battery, then you'd put them in the bin after 18 months or whatever.
Well, this is a bit of a contradiction to what we were seeing 6 months ago. Or maybe not 6 months ago, but 4 months ago. Because that was initially when the first references to AirTags were found in iOS, there was also an alert message popping up, or that was found, that was something to the effect of, your AirTag's battery is low, please switch out your battery. And at the time, it was thought that they were going to run on just like standard button cell batteries.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I don't think you can have it both ways. There's not going to be a battery-powered AirTag that runs on button cells and is magnetically recharging and waterproof.
No, it could not be both ways, could it?
And this makes me wonder if maybe this is why we haven't seen AirTags yet. If their initial version did run on button cells, and for one reason or another they decided in favor of just putting a battery in there and letting you recharge it instead.
Yeah, either like the environmentalist side of Apple came in, or like you can't do this, or they just found that the button cells weren't providing a long enough charge, and they're like, oh, I guess we have to stick lithium batteries in there instead.
Right. Yeah, theoretically you can put a much bigger lithium battery in the same space, because you don't have to worry about, whatever small amount of hardware it takes to open and close the door and all of that. So that, and I think being able to recharge your tag is a better idea than having to switch new batteries in anyway. And I think the magnetic puck charger is probably your best bet too. I don't have a really good sense for how big they are, but to think if they'd fit on a keychain, they're going to be pretty small. So trying to center them on like a Qi charging pad or anything would be difficult at best. So something magnetic that just sticks onto the Apple Watch charger, I think, is actually going to be a really good implementation for this.
So, how small can a device be to still be Qi chargeable? Is the Apple Watch doesn't have Qi charging? Still has the magnetic one.
Apple Watch does use Qi charging. It's some,
but it doesn't
weird
charge on a regular Qi charger, does it?
Right. It was going to charge on AirPower using its Qi cables or coils.
Mm-hmm.
But the Apple Watch has some kind of like magnetic reed switch in it. Like the magnets itself coming in proximity is also what activates the charging.
Yeah, I've read that you can actually put like a magnet on the back of your watch and then quickly slide it onto a regular Qi mat and it will actually charge.
Right. But I think the Apple Watch is, I mean, the coil in that and the coil in like the AirPods, I think that's about as small as you can reasonably get a Qi coil that will charge any, usable speed.
So you'd guess that the tags are going to be smaller than an Apple Watch.
Yeah, I'm looking at my Apple Watch. I'm looking at my AirPods. I'm trying to picture something that size hanging on my key ring. It just feels like it'd be huge. But maybe if it's a circle, it wouldn't feel quite as big.
I mean, even the little magnetic head of the Apple Watch charger is about as big as I would want to hang on to anything.
Right.
Like a set of keys.
Yeah, that size would be, I think, ideal. Hopefully that's close to what ends up being.
Yeah. So if it's going to be waterproof, I think the Apple Watch charger's kind of the only option. But then are they going to ship a charger with every tile? What are we calling them? AirTags? I can't.
Yeah.
They've got to be so cheap that they're not going to ship a charger with every AirTag. It's also just a complete waste because
right.
Maybe they come in packs of 5.
That's what I'm thinking.
And then they come with a charger for $99 or something like that.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. And then maybe you can buy them individually as well.
Yeah, like add-on packs or whatever you want.
Yeah. Because you can't assume everyone that's going to buy them owns an Apple Watch already. So they have to do something. But I think you're spot on. I think you're going to get 5 for $99, and I think that's exactly what it's going to cost.
And finally, the U chip is going to be useful.
Yeah, that'll be a big one. I'm really excited to actually try out the ultra wideband on my phone.
So what are you going to attach yours to?
Keys.
One for each child.
I mean, that actually is a cheap. Well, some parents buy like the GPS with like a cellular chip in it to track their kids or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
AirTags does the same thing, but leverages other people's iPhones instead. So there's no subscription fee or anything else. Now you're not guaranteed, 100% connection time. They could be out in the middle of a field and no iPhones around to transmit their location. So probably not the best thing for children tracking.
But if you've got nothing else, maybe it's a
good excuse,
a handy backup to have.
Yeah.
Might turn one into like a necklace for my kid.
The necklace with an Apple logo on it.
Truly dedicated to the Apple. What are we called? Apple fanboys.
Mm-hmm. I can't actually think of much besides keys that I'd put it on. Maybe if I'm, traveling, like on a flight or something, I'd throw one in a backpack, like a carry-on, in my luggage. But like day to day, there's not a lot of stuff that I would need to keep track of. What about you? Cameras?
Yeah, stuff that I lose. Cameras are big enough that you don't really lose them.
Right.
Yeah, keys. Always lose keys. Always lose my child. So there's 1 and 2. What else do I lose? My AirPods. Always lose the AirPods, but
That's what they need to do. Is they need to
maybe
make AirPods with a ultra wideband chip in them as well, so you can find them.
Yep. That would be actually very handy.
Mm-hmm.
Although half the time it's like losing an individual AirPod, so it's kind of halfway solving the problem.
Right.
And I know you can play sound out of them, but you have to be in the vicinity already to hear the little ping.
Right. Maybe you could throw one in your car in case your car gets stolen.
Yeah, if your car gets stolen, that would be handy. Because I've often thought about putting some sort of GPS tracking on my car. Well, I used to when I had a slightly different car that was often a target for thieves. I had a WRX, which is
cool.
number one target for thieves. So I thought about it back then.
So I've actually got a really
Less so
nice
now.
tracking system in my car that I like a lot.
You do have one?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's called Automatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just plugs into your
two
OBD.
T's or something like that.
Oh, I don't remember how it's spelled. I've had it for years.
Okay.
But it just plugs into your OBD2 port, and it tells you every time your car is started, every time your car is parked. If you get like a check engine light come on, it'll tell you. You get all these notifications on your phone, so it tells you like, what's wrong with your car, what triggered the check engine light. You can set up alerts. It's like, hey, if my car drives away from me at 2 a.m., send me a notification. So, and there's no subscription fee, which is awesome because it's using a 3G network to send me this data, but it's all with the price of the device. It's a one-time fee.
Wow.
So
That doesn't sound sustainable, but I know I used to hear their ads on podcasts like years and years ago.
yeah,
So they're still going.
I assume so. I actually haven't seen them in stores for a while now that you mention it. Maybe they don't sell them anymore. Let me see. No, their website's still here.
Automatic.com?
Yeah, automatic.com.
Yeah, website's still there. You can still buy it.
Get Automatic. Yeah.
Your car is capable of so much more. Still looks like it's an outright charge as well. $99.99.
Yeah, that's what I had to pay for it. And actually, I got mine, this looks like a newer version, 4th generation one. Yeah, they've updated it. I got mine for on sale for $50, so it was great.
Yeah, what a score.
So,
Well, there's their little plug for the show. I'll send them the bill.
huh. So yeah, I don't have a lot of uses for these. I'm sure I could come up with some if I owned them, throw them in a couple bags and stuff like that. But I'm not one to lose things very much.
No, me either. Yeah, I do like the necklace idea on the child, on the children, as it will be.
Especially if like maybe not as a permanent thing, but if you were going to like a big carnival or some kind of event, you put one in their pocket and easy to keep track of them that way. That could work really well.
Yep. It might give you a false sense of security though, and you pay less attention to them, and then next minute they're gone.
Right. Well, then you just hold your phone up and they'll be like an arrow pointing to whatever direction they are.
I can't wait for the AR representation of my child, somewhere up in the distance on the screen. Oh, anyway. Just speaking of tags, while I thought of it, NFC tags are a thing with iOS 13, and I haven't seen too much done with them. You don't have any floating around, do you?
I actually do. When the iOS 13 beta first came out, I ordered a whole bag of blank NFC tags off Amazon.
That's right, yeah.
And then I got them, and
that.
it was the feature was disabled for months. And
right.
It was 3 or 4 months ago, I dug them out and tried setting up a couple NFC tags to trigger my Siri shortcuts, and it worked great. It did exactly what it's supposed to do, but I don't use Siri shortcuts, so. And even worse,
Still haven't found anything useful.
Even worse, I can't think of a situation where I would want to trigger the shortcut by tapping something on my phone instead of just saying "Yo Siri." So, yeah, I haven't come up with a good reason to use NFC tags yet either.
The only thing I can think of is like turning on a smart light, like when you get home or something like that.
Maybe.
That's literally the only thing I can think of doing.
So, but see, I've got like the HomePods and stuff in my entry, so I can either walk in and say, "Yo Siri, turn the lights on," or I can walk in, pull my phone out of my pocket, walk up to an NFC tag, tap it. That just seems a lot more tedious than that's like basically turning a light switch on and off at that point.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I think if you want a light switch replacement in a HomeKit enabled home, you put like an iPad Mini on the wall, and you just have the devices that you can tap on there.
sounds like way overkill. I would just get the smart switches from Hue.
Yeah, some smart switches would work too.
All right, well, let me know if you ever think of anything useful to do with NFC tags or shortcuts.
Okay, you let me know too, because I got a bunch sitting around.
I will. Yeah, okay. So last topic is that the 2020 MacBook Pro 13-inch benchmark leak shows GPU gains and CPU gains. Well,
surprise.
The interesting thing is not that we have performance increases, because you'd kind of just bank on that, but that there's a new 13-inch MacBook Pro coming in 2020, surely with no more butterfly keys, surely with the updated keyboard.
Right.
But still 13-inch according to the report, so we're not going to see like the 14-inch MacBook Pro, maybe.
Is that confirmed, or is this just assuming that it's going to be 13-inch?
It's just assuming it, based on this article from a site I've never heard of before, WCCF Tech.
Right. I was like, there's no way the leaked performance numbers are going to be indicating what the actual dimensions of the screen are. So,
no, that's true.
So hopefully this maybe is a 14-inch, and, you know, without any confirmation, we're just calling it the next 13-inch.
That's probably a safe bet on their part, just to call it that.
Right.
Just to, yeah, so that we can focus on the spec increases.
Yeah. I think 14-inch would be maybe the perfect size for a laptop. I've always preferred the 13-inch footprint over the 15, and if they can fit a 14-inch screen in the same, you know, basic footprint, that would be awesome.
And you'll take that over a 13-inch screen in a 12-inch laptop? Or you know what I mean?
Yeah, so like basically the old MacBook design, but with a bigger screen in it. If they could make that fit and still, you know, increase performance, or at least keep it the same, maybe. I mean, I'm not in the market for a Mac laptop at all right now, but if I was, you know, unless I had to do my job off of it or something, I would definitely be reaching for something more portable than just whatever the most powerful one is right now.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully it'll also come with all the other little spec bumps from the 16-inch, like the speakers, the microphone. Did the camera get an update in the 16? I don't remember.
I don't believe it did. I think it's still 720p.
Oh, God, really? What's with that, seriously?
It just has to be the screen lid size. They can't fit anything nicer in that thin of a lid.
Could be it.
That has to be what's holding up Face ID, too.
Yeah, these are all the things I've been playing around in my head in the last few weeks as I try and decide between a MacBook and an iPad.
What they need to do is put Face ID in the body of the laptop, like above the keyboard, and then put some kind of like prism above it, so it like looks out at an angle, so it's kind of looking directly at you, even though it's flat on the table.
A prism,
or a mirror, or whatever. Assuming that,
where would the mirror go?
So the camera would be recessed in the laptop and be looking up at at an angled mirror, and then that would, you know, redirect the line of sight of the camera, out horizontally
okay,
towards
gotcha.
you. I don't know if it could maintain 3D face mapping looking through a mirror, but
I'm sure it could. If you had two of them on each side of the laptop. Sounds like a very novel implementation.
if they had to do it that way, because I still think the Mac is like the perfect device to put Face ID in. So
Yeah, well, just 24 hours after getting this keyboard and having my iPad kind of always sitting at a laptop angle, Face ID just works every time flawlessly, basically.
So yeah, between the laptops and iMacs and everything, it just needs Face ID. And then it needs multi-user support in Face ID, so it can immediately log you into whatever account based on who's sitting in front of it.
Yeah, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
The Apple Watch authentication isn't too bad on the Macs. I mean, it works like 75% of the time. When it works, it's nice.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't work a lot for me. The latest watch update actually improved it quite substantially.
Does the Watch Unlock feature support multiple users?
No, it doesn't, though.
Okay. I suppose that would be hard if there was two people in the same room. So I can see why that would be the case.
Right. Yeah, it could be annoying. Where it just decides who to log in as. Speaking just quickly about annoying proximity-related things, I can't use my phone near my HomePod anymore because it continuously just steals the audio away from my phone. Like if I'm watching something on YouTube, it's like, boom, boom, audio has been transferred to the HomePod.
How close do you get to the HomePod?
Like a meter from it. And it's
Really?
like, it just grabs it. Yeah, it's very aggressive about it.
I have a very different experience. Because I use my phone in bed plenty, and I've got a HomePod sitting on my headboard, less than a meter away.
Really?
It's never been an
doesn't do
issue.
it?
I have to like almost physically touch my phone to the HomePod for it to transfer over.
Wow. Maybe it's an SE type bug. I don't know, something to do with the hardware.
Yeah, maybe it's the older form of Bluetooth. It has less range detection or something.
Yeah, it could be that. Yep. Or the SE is just so fast that like the time to flight is way quicker. Time of flight, whatever it's called.
Time of flight? What does that have to do with it?
Well, that's how it works out, like the proximity, like time of flight between, ping Bluetooth.
Okay.
And like how long does it take for this packet to go from here to there to determine how close is the device to the other device.
Okay. And it's calculating that fast enough to compensate for the fact that it's using old Bluetooth.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the iPhone SE is just such a speedy device that, the calculations are all out of whack.
Or Apple just never even bothered to
To
calibrate it with the SE, yeah.
Yeah, that's way more likely.
What did I just...
Anyway, but... Yeah, sorry.
This is very tangentially related at all. Just because we're basically a Reddit podcast, I just opened Reddit. I'm on the Apple subreddit. And I see something called the Reddit Public Access Network. Have you seen this?
Is this an ad or...
No, it's in the... I guess it's only in the desktop version because I've never seen it. But I clicked on it, and it pulled up this live video stream. It says it's a broadcast of content created by Redditors.
What?
Yeah.
I've never heard of this. No. Is this on the new Reddit? Because I only use the old UI.
Yeah, it's on the new Reddit. It looks like kind of like a live stream. There's like a live comment thread running next to it.
Another reason to turn off the new Reddit.
Man, they're just throwing all kinds of new stuff at Reddit. Sorry to pull you off topic.
Oh, we were way off topic anyway. I was talking about time of flight networking to an iPhone SE.
We're really just talking about Apple.
To be talking about the 2020 MacBook Pro. Yeah, okay, it's still Apple related. So, as someone points out in the comments, like a 12% increase in CPU isn't a big update. Isn't a big improvement.
No.
30% on the GPU is a bit better. But, yeah, generation to generation.
Yeah, I mean, none of this is...
It's not a reason in itself to buy the laptop.
Yeah, a new keyboard would be.
A new keyboard is 100% a reason.
Yeah, this isn't new or surprising news to anyone. Apple's releasing a new laptop in 2020, and it's going to be a bit faster. I could have told you that.
It has the better keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Are we thinking March? A March event, or maybe WWDC? It can't come soon enough, that's for sure.
Yeah. I just feel like this March event is going to be busy between the SE2 and like the alleged new headphones and maybe AirTags and maybe a new iPod Touch and maybe a new Apple TV and
ARM Max.
Probably not ARM Max in March. But yeah, it's going to be I think just a busy year in general for Apple. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited for the new iPhone redesign. Just everything's going to be great this year.
I don't have too high expectations for the March event though, because it is normally a smallish sort of event, but maybe this year we'll be surprised and it won't just be like the education iPads.
Yeah, it's definitely a mixed bag. Sometimes you get like brand new Macs, and sometimes they bump the Mac Mini and sell it to education market. So
yeah. Well, we should find out, I think, if there's going to be a March event before the next show. So, yeah. 2 potentially big news topics for the next show.
March event.
Birth of my child and the March event.
Those are about equally exciting.
Oh, no, the Apple event's way more exciting.
Huh.
Well, I'm James VDM on Reddit and Twitter.
And I'm Jellywoot on Reddit and Twitter.